Hello, ooplesofters or ooplesoftties. Not really sure what to call you yet, but welcome back. I know it's been a minute since I have done anything, and I wanted to update y'all on what's new in my life and give a little bit of a story time. I think you can call this my testimony. And in other words, I think I would say it's called The Time I Slipped and Almost Died. The movie, the musical. I'm not sure what it's gonna be, but regardless, I'm here and I'm alive. Thank goodness. I wanted to tell y'all that I got into a bit of an accident on June 7th, 2021. I finished my job. I was scheduled to see my therapist in the afternoon, and I decided to get a quick workout in. Now, I have a Fitbit. It's not one of the expensive ones. It's actually pretty. I think it's the cheapest one you can get. I'm not even sure. Don't tell my girlfriend that. I got it for her for for her graduation. But regardless, I like doing the workouts on them, and I was doing this pretty intense one. So I was like running in place. I was doing jumping jacks and abs and all this stuff. My dad came into the room and everything because I was working out just in their bedroom. And then I started doing burpees about like 10 minutes into the exercise. And next thing I know, I'm on the floor. My back of my head is bleeding. I am lying in my parents' bedroom in a pool of my own blood. And I just scream for my dad, right? And I scream, Papa, Papa, ayúdame. I need to go to a hospital. I'm bleeding. And so we make our way over to the ER, and I was doing fine. I was just kind of hyperventilating a little. I mean, everybody would if they're bleeding out of the back of their head. It's a lot of blood. And so I come into the hospital, and the second I enter the ER, I have a seizure. And I seized for about 11 hours. Now, I've never had a seizure before, so it was definitely due to the injury. And it was pretty scary, not going to lie. I I mean, the rest was a blur, right? I woke up 4 days later. Apparently, I had a seizure for 11 hours and I couldn't stop. So the doctors, there was a whole team of them. I had a cardiologist, a neurologist, the hospitalist, the neurosurgeon, and they all decide to put me in a medically induced coma for 4 days. So they had me on very, very strong sedatives. And apparently, over that time, my lungs failed, my kidneys, my heart stopped for a second. It just stopped beating all of a sudden. um, and I had to be essentially on life support. And I'm a pretty healthy guy, so I'm the brain is a crazy thing. We really don't know how it works, or what can just cause all these random things to start failing. But the short story was I was on everything. I had a catheter for my urine. I had a feeding tube going through my mouth. Like I said, ventilator, though the whole 9 yards. And the doctors told my parents, if he wakes up, right? Because I was still in a coma at this point. If he wakes up, he will most likely not be able to support himself, right? Not going to be able to walk or talk, to play video games, of course, to make these videos that they thought I was going to have to be in an assisted living facility. And that was if I survived. But they started weaning me off of the sedatives. And then I started waking up. And I remember hallucinating at that point that I was surrounded by robots. Now, it was kind of like I was living a dream because half of my eyes are kind of half open, and I know that I'm surrounded by people, but I don't know where I am or what's going on. And so I mumble to them. I say, what time is it? And they tell me, oh, it's 10:45 a.m. And I start freaking out because the only thing that was on my mind was that I had work because I slipped on a Monday, and that's when I had the seizure. So the next day in my biological clock was Tuesday. I didn't realize that 4 days had passed. So I start pulling out all the tubing from my throat, from my nose, everything, and I have to be held down by the nurses. They have to tell me, no, 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 you have to stay. You have to stay in the bed. That you've had an accident. And I said, what kind of accident? So I had total amnesia. I didn't know what happened at all. Like I said, the brain's a scary thing. And essentially, I was in the ICU for another 2 days. Now, my recovery was very, very rapid. I was able to walk and talk on my second day awake. It was surprising to the physical and the occupational therapists that they brought on board. They've never seen a recovery that fast, especially for how my MRIs looked, because it seemed to them that I had gotten into a car accident, not that I was working out. And regardless, they moved me to a regular bed 2 days later, and another 2 days after that, I walked myself out of the hospital. Now, my life's obviously not back to normal. I'm on anti-seizure medication, as well as high blood pressure medication, as well as no, that's it. Actually, they sent me home with three kinds of medication: two high blood pressure, because my blood pressure hit like over 200 when I was seizing and all of that. It was very abnormal. And the anti-seizure medication, so they make sure I don't have that anymore. But because I had a seizure, I can't drive for 6 months. All my vacations are canceled. All my flights that I was planning to take, if I was planning to take any, effectively canceled. And also, what's weird is that since I hit the back of my head, my brain flew forward, right? So I had damage to my inferior frontal lobe. Now, the way that smelling works is particles come up and they literally hit nerves on the brain, inside this nasal cavity. I broke them. That's just straight up. I broke them, and I haven't been able to smell for about a month and a half. I don't really miss it too much, to be honest. Out of all the senses that I could lose, I think I could do without smell, mainly because, I'm Cuban, so we have really good tasting food anyways. I don't have to smell it to know that it tastes great. But some things don't taste the same to me because I can't smell them. So like cookies, they don't taste the same. Cakes, ice cream, all of that kind of tastes just like sugar. So I got out of the hospital 3 days before my birthday, and I could barely eat the cake that I had because it's just gross to me. I like fruits now, which is crazy. And I'm sure it's really surprising to you all that I'm smiling and that I'm laughing through all of this. But that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, to remind you all, and also to remind myself, that I came out of this experience much more happy and grateful than I ever have been in my life. I mean, my heart stopped. I nearly was gone from the world, and instead I get to be here in my beautiful city, in this beautiful house, and telling you all that you cannot take your life for granted, because you do not want to be where I was. And just remember that I got into a coma, so you didn't have to, alright? And give your parents a hug if you have a good relationship with them, Reach out to friends that you haven't talked to in a minute. After I got out of the hospital, I decided to just hit up folks I hadn't talked to in years. I thought they hated me. And instead, we try to hang out. And that's really all I can ask for, is that my viewers, new and old, and if you're new, you better hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the little bell icon too. Why not? But just remember that life's what you make it. So let's make it rock. All right. That's There we go. We'll just end on quoting Hannah Montana. I love you all. I hope you have a great day. And wherever you are, just remember that you matter in this world and you mean something to everybody.